SleepFam.news.
Welcome to the Sleep Summit Show, where we uncover bold ideas with innovators, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders making waves in the sleep industry. With your host, Mark Kinsley.
He is the president of Raymour and Flanigan, a furniture and mattress powerhouse with 150 locations across the Northeast and 6,000 associates. Seth Goldberg is here, and the Sleep Summit Show begins right now.
We get the best reactions from our customers on the Englander products.
Katie and I compare a lot of notes when we're helping people in the store. And when we bring them over to the beds, they just lay down on it and they're like, that's it.
They don't want to try anything else.
Katie and Greg Law, Sweet Dreams Mattress and Furniture.
We've gotten just some of the best feedback from some of the Englander beds. We love them because we know our customers are really happy and sleeping well.
Learn more and get started today at englander.com.
Welcome to the Sleep Summit Show. I'm Mark Kinsley. Seth Goldberg, thank you so much for being on the show today. You've been in business with the business for 15 years. Raymour and Flanigan has been around for 75 years. You watched your grandfather and his brother and then your dad build the business, and now you're in a position of leadership. And you told me when we talked previously, it's really about the team. So thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Mark. I'm looking forward to this.
Well, let's start right there. Let's start with this idea of the team, because we were going through the list and you've got your grandfather and his brother and your dad and your brother Adam and your sister Shira and your brother-in-law Jared. And of course, you and your family, I'm sure life revolves a lot around the business. This is really a team effort and a family business, but at a big scale. Tell us what's it like to live in that world and to work in that world.
Yeah, and in fact, I think you actually forgot two family members in there. So my uncle and my cousin as well. So unfortunately, my grandfather and great uncle passed away a few years back, but they founded the business and 75 years ago, and we are proudly leading the business forward as part of the third generation of our family. There's 7 family members that are actively involved in the business, as you kind of alluded to. But, it's really about the team and the family as a team, the leadership team, the broader Raymour and Flanigan team. My dad has this saying, he's always said to us, maybe it was a way to help attract us to the business, but he said, we're playing a team sport. We're just playing on a different playing field. And so we feel that is kind of how we approach business every day. And those lessons that many of us learn playing sports and being athletes in our younger days, we try to translate to the business environment every day.
Wow, that's get out your pen and paper on this one, because we're playing a team sport, but we're playing on a different field. I absolutely love that. Couldn't agree more. Okay, so before we get into more of the stories about the team, we're going to find out later in the show, where is the strangest place that Seth has ever slept? And that's coming up, okay? Because this is one of my favorite parts of the entire show. But first, we're going to do our Sleep Summit quiz question. And Seth, you're going to answer this later in the show. So hold on to your answer and we'll answer it later. But what is the term for the phenomenon where people tend to feel more alert and awake during the day if they have been exposed to bright light in the morning? So there's your Sleep Summit quiz question. Be thinking about your answer, and we'll see if Seth gets it right. And we're going to find out the strangest place he's ever slept. Raymour and Flanigan, a big name in the furniture and mattress business. Let's go straight to the sleep side of your business, the mattress side of your business. You've been doing this, your family's been doing this for 75 years. Tell us about the mattress department, your mattress sales, how you think about sleep and serving those customers.
Yeah, sure. That category is really important to us, Mark. And I think it was 7 or 8 years ago, I was leading the marketing team, and I was one day kind of just looking at our logo, which was Raymour and Flanigan Furniture. And we had been having all these conversations around, well, how do we drive more mattress business? Customers are already in our stores. They're buying, bedroom sets from us. And we have this great offering in the mattress gallery and our mattress galleries. And what can we do to continue to enhance the awareness that we're in the sleep category? One of the things we did, and it felt like it was such a huge move at the time, and looking back, maybe it wasn't, but we added mattresses to our logo and company name. So I think, we made that kind of serious attempt to communicate that not only are we in the furniture business, but we're really serious about helping consumers sleep well. And, we've done obviously a ton. We have a great team in our merchandising group led by Pat Judd, who's our buyer, they're so passionate about this category and aggressive about chasing the opportunity. It's been a success for us, and we've done things. We pride ourselves on having the widest offering out there in the sleep category. We're trying to continue to improve the brand awareness around this category. Our associates, I believe, are the best trained out there, and I think customers who shop with us recognize that. But it's important for us.
What happened? Let's just go straight to it. Whenever you added the word mattresses to the logo, did anything fundamentally change? Did business pick up? Did associates see the category within the store differently? What happened?
Yeah, I think it was a message both internally and externally to customers that we're serious about the mattress business and the sleep category as an opportunity for our business. And I mean, despite having to spend the money on changing signage on our stores, which wasn't inexpensive, especially because we have a really long company name. So that was an effort. Yeah, I think it made the statement to everybody that, hey, we're not just kind of talking about this part of our business, but we're really serious about growing this part of our business. And obviously, that in and of itself is not going to just propel tremendous growth. So that was just one example of how we kind of made the statement around being in the mattress category and being serious about it. But it was, supported over the years with a ton of other initiatives. Our training in that category has, for our internal associates, has improved dramatically over the years. Like I said, our selection, we continue to broaden our selection, enhance our selection. Now our selection includes a really wide offering online as well. So we're complementing our in-store offering with all kinds of additional mattresses and other products within the sleep category on our website. So we feel like we're a serious player in this category, and we're going to continue to be even more serious about it.
Let's talk about that online piece of the business. Is that something that really has been meaningful for Raymour and Flanigan, and specifically on the mattress side, because there's so much chum in the water, and the advertising terms around mattress on Google and other platforms are very expensive. What's your participation like, and how has that been meaningful, or is it something that you're still kind of grinding away at?
Yeah, well, I think there's still a lot to learn, and we don't have it all figured out. But first and foremost, we're an omni-channel business, and whether we just want to be where the consumer wants to shop, research, browse. And fortunately, we have 150 bricks and mortar locations that are really conveniently located. So I think for those consumers, and most, I believe, still want to come to stores, especially for significant purchases like furniture and bedding. We have convenient locations. So now it's just, how do you create this digital and connected experience that makes it really easy for the customers? And when we think about our customer experience, we talk about it striving to be exceptional. And, I defined exceptional with, really, in today's world, a level of simplicity. It needs to be compelling, and it needs to be relevant. So obviously, if you just think of the way people behave today, you can't meet those expectations unless you're complementing your physical store experience with a great digital experience.
Is that what you find? People start online the majority of the time before they come into the store?
Yeah, without a doubt. And, it's hard to get like really accurate statistics around that, I think. But I tell our team, hey, think about it as everybody's doing that. If we think about it in that regard, and that's our starting place, I think we're going to build an experience that makes sense for consumers today and will make even more sense for consumers of tomorrow. Consumers, millennials, digital tech, mobile devices, website. These are just inherent to the way we live. It's just part of how we live. And now I see my kids, and they don't have phones yet. They're way too young, but it's like intuitive to them. They grab my phone, and I'm like, they never had any training on that. They never read an instruction manual. They kind of just born with this intuition of how to use technology. So I tell our team, hey, start with a perspective that everybody is browsing on our website, and some or most of those people have an intent of going in the store. What is the experience that we're going to provide?
Yeah, I think a lot of retailers out there, they're looking at their customers coming into the store armed with information, and then they're having to do some taekwondo of pushing and pulling that information based on what the consumer already knows in the right direction to help them dispel misinformation or highlight good pieces of the research the consumer has done, and then map that to the products that are going to help them, especially on the mattress side of the business. Does that seem to flow for you?
Yeah, I think the mattress space can be overwhelming for people. And we have a really broad offering, but we're always trying to find ways to simplify it for the consumer. And so, trying to figure out what really matters to a customer around specs and comfort and value. And, every consumer is a little bit different, right? So we try to serve as many consumers as we can, but then you're trying to take this broad offering and all this knowledge and information out there, and you're trying to simplify it, right? Because the world is it can be overwhelmingly complex. So how do our associates help really narrow it down, simplify the experience and the process for a customer, so that we can find them, the mattress or the sleep system that works best for them?
Simple isn't always easy.
I think it's very difficult, actually. And, especially in today's day and age where people can get information from so many places. Some of it's accurate, some inaccurate perhaps, but you can be overwhelmed with information as a consumer. So, this is where I believe we have the advantage of having really capable, qualified people who can still support our customers' experience, right? Those folks are great at trying to help a consumer take this really wide offering with a ton of detail around it, and really find out what's most important to that consumer and narrow it down to hopefully find the right product, sleep system for that consumer.
Let me ask you a very granular question. Whenever somebody comes into the store and they're mainly looking for furniture, maybe they're looking at some bedroom sets, how do your associates transition that person back to the mattress department?
Yeah, that's a good question. One of the things we tell them to do is just blatantly ask a customer how they sleep last night. Maybe sometimes that opens a can of worms, but at least it gets the consumer thinking about, oh, well, you know what? I actually haven't slept well for a really long time. I think, as you know, furniture and especially mattresses are a deferrable purchase. They're easy for consumers to say, you know what, I'm going to get to that. I'm just going to deal with another night's sleep or lousy night's sleep. So, that's something we definitely train our associates on. How do you introduce the mattress category when someone doesn't come through the front door saying, I need a mattress? Like I said, we ask probing questions. We try to get ahead of and in front of explaining the different promotional offerings that we have. We also have what we call a comfort test. So we'll tell a customer, hey, just come try a few mattresses. They're going to be different levels of comfort, and we'll go from there, right? We're trying to just narrow this down for you to make it easy and simple, and that's kind of how we introduce the category.
We're here on the Sleep Summit Show talking with Seth Goldberg. He's the president of Raymour and Flanigan. Seth, you talked about something ahead of recording that I thought was just a great thing to highlight around not doing holiday parties. But before we get to not doing holiday parties and what you do instead, what's your dad Neil like?
Oh, geez. Well, is he going to be listening to this? No, I'm just kidding. No, my dad's the best. He's he's my role model, mentor, leader, friend. I mean, all these things. My dad has an amazing entrepreneurial spirit and energy and knack, but he's also so commonsensical, if that's a word. My dad is just so practical and realistic, and I think one thing amongst many that has helped him to be an amazing leader for our organization. Not only does he have a drive and the competitiveness that you need to be a successful leader. I think that kind of, for a lot of leaders or successful entrepreneurs, it just kind of goes without saying. But my dad's way of communicating with others, and the frequency in which he communicates, but also the simplicity in which he communicates, which is he never makes things more complex than they need to be. So it's easily understood, so people can really understand where we're trying to go, how we get there. I think that's been an incredible attribute that he's displayed. And, we're really fortunate as a family. We have great relationships. I shouldn't say obviously, we have great relationships. We all get along really well. We communicate very well. But my dad, uncle, and cousin have done an amazing job as we were kind of growing up of exposing us to the business, never pressuring us to join, but exposing us to the business, to the way that they operated. So we would sit in on meetings with them, as teenagers, meetings that were really important, really high level, sometimes even really sensitive, and just observe. And, I never really recognized until probably more recently how valuable those experiences were. We were able to watch the three of them engage, sometimes, certainly plenty of times, disagree, always kind of leave though with a united front and engage with the respect that's really necessary to have a successful family business. And I attribute that to all three of them, certainly. But my dad's leadership attributes, I think, are kind of endless. And I'm so fortunate that I get the chance to work with him, and I have for the last 15 years. And I feel, really, really fortunate that I can learn from him.
And one of the times you get to work with him and beside him is whenever you go out and you do kind of the opposite of a holiday party, which typically takes place in the evening. Talk about that experience. Talk about what you do, because you're going around to 150 locations or gatherings that bring together 150 separate locations and 6,000 associates around the holiday season. And you guys are like a tour group or a rock band.
Sometimes we feel that way, although we're not as talented, that's for sure. But our culture starts with our associates first. I mean, I think a lot of companies probably say that, we feel like ours is unique. We feel and live by the sentiment that if we treat our associates well, they'll treat our customers well. And part of doing that is recognizing the contributions of our associates. And a lot of companies do that with holiday parties. I can't take credit for this. I think the credit goes to Dad, Steve, and Mike. But I think early on they started with holiday parties. And, holiday parties can create challenges. Usually there's alcohol at holiday parties. So I think one year they kind of regrouped after one of the holiday parties and they said, you know what, we got to change this up. We got to do something different. What about holiday breakfast? We're not going to serve any alcohol. I think it's a little bit safer. And I think at that time, maybe there was 2 or 3 holiday breakfasts at the onset of these. Now with our growth, we, like you said, travel around towards the end of the year. We have 23, I think, last year of these, where we bring together the local stores and the warehouses, and we serve, we cook, we serve, we clean up. We really try to show that appreciation for our associates' hard work throughout the year. And the other incredibly valuable aspect of these is that we sit down with associates. When you're sitting down over an omelet, there's a natural comfort level in being open and honest, and we get really raw and valuable feedback and ideas from our associates about ways to improve the business. So there's been so many wonderful ideas that we have received during these events, and they're really special.
That sounds like a lot of fun. I always look at eating a meal together as such an important thing, because sometimes I'll look at evolutionary psychology, which I find fascinating, and think, well, if you're sitting down to eat, you're safe. You're not being chased by lions. And if you're safe, then you are typically comfortable with the people that are beside you. As you sit there and you share an omelet and you talk to your fellow associates, you said you got some of the best ideas from those conversations and those holiday breakfasts. What are some of those ideas that maybe have bubbled up and been deployed throughout the organization?
Yeah. I mean, one of them that we always cite, because I think it was expressed in such like a simple and innocent way, was, an associate was asking us, hey, what do you do with, this is probably, 15, 20 years ago at this point, but what do you do with all that packaging material? What do you do with all the plastic and the styrofoam and the cardboard that comes with all this furniture? We open the furniture in our warehouses, we prep it and inspect it there. What are you doing with all that stuff? And at the time, we were disposing of it. We were probably paying, frankly, to dispose of it. And the associate, asked if we've ever looked into like recycling those materials. At the time it was early for the recycling efforts that exist today, but we started building out these recycling centers within our organization to bring back all that material, recycle it. And it really became like part of our sustainability, environmentally friendly efforts before that was even kind of a thing. And again, it was just this associate really kind of innocently bringing up this idea, but he was comfortable enough to ask us. He was comfortable enough to share, what was a simple thought. And oftentimes, I think what's so amazing is that our associates think, hey, this is a really small thing, or this is just a nuisance to me. And they forget to recognize that it's what they're bringing up is probably impacting thousands of associates around the company. So, they don't think necessarily that this is some broad, large scale idea, but oftentimes it will turn into that. I think just another simple one was like talking about the in-store experience again years ago, and our associates saying, hey, for those customers who aren't necessarily as interested in interacting with us as a home furnishing consultant, how can we re-engage with a customer? Like, we need a way to like go back up to them and give them something. Hey, maybe a bottle of water, just a simple bottle of water, right? So, we've offered bottles of water in our showroom for decades, frankly, because of that. And again, an associate had just a simple idea, and now that we're a larger organization, it becomes incredibly meaningful and widespread.
I want to put a red underline below what you just talked about with the recycling question. That simple question. Now, if I have my numbers right, you have 5 recycling facilities that you operate, 100 recycling associates. You have a 3-acre plot of solar panels to harvest energy and electricity. And Raymour and Flanigan recycles 99% of all packaging materials, resulting in 200 million pounds diverted from landfills since 2002 and growing. One question, one omelet, one breakfast.
Yeah. Yes. It's amazing, right? And the power of a single associate or a single idea. You have to But in order to do that, you have to create a culture where people feel comfortable speaking their mind, being honest, and being transparent. And, people have joked with us in the past when that show Undercover Boss was out there and they were like, you guys should do that. And I'm like, we could never do that. Like, first of all, we wouldn't want to do that. Second of all, we could never do that. Our associates, they know us too well. We want them to know us. We're normal people that like, we're all on the same team. Like, we don't, we're not, these fancy executives. That's not how we behave. And we could never do Undercover Boss. So that's just our culture. That's just who we are. We try to be out there as much as possible in our stores, in our warehouses. I mean, that's where you learn the most. That's where you get the best ideas. And not only that, it is so energizing and motivating. I mean, those holiday breakfasts, no matter how exhausting they are to stay in a different hotel every night and a different mattress, and you never know what you're kind of going to get. It doesn't even matter, because at the end of the day, it's so exciting and so energizing, all the conversation, all the ideas, all the camaraderie that we get to experience during those. So,
yeah, I can just see you light up when you talk about it.
Yeah, I'm excited to restart them in a few months.
Well, Seth, I got to ask you about some failures. I mean, a wildly successful company that is a model for many in the furniture and mattress industry. As you've come up over the past 15 years, have you ever really screwed up and maybe learned something from that? Has there been a moment where you're like, oh no, this went in the wrong direction, and maybe there's a lesson out of that?
Yeah. There's probably a long list. I try to, I don't put it necessarily on my desk to look at every day. Maybe I should, I guess. But I believe that I have learned a lot of things through those failures. One that I would highlight, and I think this relates to kind of the evolution of our business as we try to incorporate technology better within our business. We have so much to continue to learn about how to best do that, how to best integrate technology, leverage technology. Unfortunately, I got a couple of examples of where we've went out and we've bought technology products or applications. Specifically one, when we bought a website e-commerce platform that was, we got sold on, basically. We spent money on, we tried to implement and roll out in the business, and it was just a failure. And it was just not right for our business. And we got allured by the kind of bells and whistles of this product. And, from that time, we have vetted far better than we ever have any new technology that we're going to go out and buy, even to the point where we often hire partners or consultants to help us do that, because we want to make sure that we get it right. We get the choice right. And right does not always mean the number one ranking e-commerce platform out there. Right means that it's right for our business. It's right for what our needs are, what our requirements are, what our capabilities are, and our competencies are. So that was an expensive, timely mistake that we made. But soon after, we implemented a website platform that was right and is working and has really been incredibly valuable for our organization. So that would be a big one and a costly one, unfortunately.
Those technology missteps are typically really expensive and very time consuming. I was just talking to one of our customers who spent the past year and a half working on this migration over to new technology for point of sale. And they decided to abandon it after a year and a half of really hard work, because they got to the point where they realized it wasn't going to work for them. So I think those time investments, and like you said, readjusting and now hiring consultants to do some of that vetting and some of that front end work, lesson learned. Let's go the opposite. Have you implemented any technology that you were able to roll out company wide that's had a huge impact, a huge positive impact, besides the e-com piece?
Well, we're in the midst of doing a massive transformation with our ERP system. So you can connect with me in a year or 18 months and I'll let you know if it was a good move, but we feel pretty confident that it will be. We like to joke that 40 years ago, my dad bought an ERP system that I think probably every furniture retailer at the time was buying. And, we've done an amazing job of kind of building on top of it, around it, connecting this web of technology applications ultimately to it. But we finally made the decision about a year ago, hey, we need to change this. If we're going to set ourselves up for success for many years to come, we're going to have to kind of rebuild the foundation of this house. And that's a really difficult decision. And frankly, one that we had kind of deferred because it's just not, it's just not an experience you really, you enjoy or want to go through unless you really have to. Again, the proof will be in the pudding, but I feel really confident that this will be an incredible investment to help us modernize the technology stack that we have, the applications that our associates are using, allow us to really streamline and reduce the number of applications that they use. Because, one of the big things we look at when we look at technology is how do we make, like I said before, how do we make our associates' experience better? How do we make their experience better so that that can translate to the customer? And, I use this analogy all the time, but if in today's day and age, we're all using these iPhones or these Android devices that just come out of the box, they're super simple to use, and they're more powerful than anything we've ever held in our pockets before. But then I come to work and I have to use something that's dated or multiple applications that, aren't mobile friendly or aren't seamless and easy to use. Like those two experiences don't make sense, right? So while I wish we were as good as Apple, that's kind of the gold standard in what we want to deliver as far as technology applications for our associates and obviously, for our customers as well.
Yeah, if you make it hard to do business with you because of infrastructure or that piping and plumbing you have in place from a technology perspective, your customers are like, well, I'll just go over here and it's easier for me to give them my money.
You're absolutely right. And when you're, a long-standing business like we are that have grown, in a way that we have grown and often grown by just getting things done. We have kind of this bias towards action. I think one of the things, again, we've learned from my dad, my uncle, my cousin is like, the best ideas are just ideas until they get executed. So we are all about execution, and execution really matters. And execution often involves attention to detail. It involves leaders, even at the highest level, like really digging in and understanding what that level of detail that is necessary to execute effectively. But we don't do a lot of like strategy sessions. We don't do a lot of like, long-term strategy efforts. Like we're really all about, executing as well as we possibly can.
I remember when I wrote the book, Come Back to Bed, in it, when I was signing it for people, I would put action reveals answers, because so often people get hung up on strategy, and I'm all about coming up with a good plan. I love that. But then it has to be put into action because it's going to reveal answers and it's going to reveal questions you didn't even know to ask. And if it sits on the sidelines and you continue to bake that cake and never take it out of the oven, you're not going to know what the world is going to do to your idea unless you execute. I love that.
Yeah. And if you're trying to build the perfect cake or bake the perfect cake, you're going to probably wait a long time to be able to, start eating that cake. I don't know if that makes sense. Does that work?
There was a really great study I saw done where they had two groups, and each group was the goal was to build the best piece of pottery. And so this was done in an academic setting, and they had all the controls set up and put in place. And so the first group, they were given access to experts. They were given literature. They were given books, all the resources they would need to learn how to make a great piece of pottery. and they were supposed to absorb as much knowledge as they could, and then make one piece of pottery that was perfect. The second group was put in a room with a bunch of clay and a wheel, and they said, start making pottery. Just make as many pieces as you can. And so then they had independent judges at the very end who were tasked with saying which is the best piece of pottery. And at the very end, the group with all of the knowledge and resources and everything they needed to find out what makes a great piece of pottery was judged dramatically lower than the people with their hands in the clay that said, go do it and learn.
I think that's a great story. And yeah, definitely representative of how we've grown and who we are and what our culture is all about.
Seth, I've got to know, okay, a couple of things. Number one, you're a fit guy. You like to work out, and it helps define your day. Talk about your fitness routine, and then talk about sleep.
Well, yeah, I'm never as fit as I'd like to be, I guess, but I used to be maybe fitter. Yeah, so I like having a routine. I think it's important. Sometimes you also got to be willing to like get out of that routine, right? And I think that's also important. But yeah, I try to work out in the mornings, as often as I can. Usually it's probably 6 days a week before the house starts to wake up. And I have 4 little boys, so once the house gets going, there's not a lot of time for me to invest in myself. So I try to do that before everybody kind of wakes up. And if I don't do it, I'm just not as sharp throughout the day. I feel it. I really feel it. But backing up even a step further, like if I don't sleep well, I've always been one that needs my sleep. I mean, for me, that means 7 to 8 hours. And if I don't get 7, 8 hours, if I'm 5, 6, if I'm interrupted, I'll push through, but I'm just not as sharp or as alert. So I'm, relatively disciplined, I would say, with my routine. And I need that good sleep. I need that hour in the morning for fitness and working out. And then the day gets going. I think because I try to jam in so much in the day, come 9:30 at night, like I usually don't have a lot of trouble falling asleep. So that's a good thing.
That is a good thing. Yeah, it sounds like you know yourself, you know your body. Can you say what you're sleeping on these days?
Yeah, I'm sleeping on a Beauty Rest Black, and it's great. So one thing I haven't done though, and I've been meaning to, it kind of goes back to that deferrable thing, even though we're in the industry. I've wanted to try out like an adjustable base, and I just haven't gotten around to doing it. So I need to.
Well, hey, you know a great place with a mattress in the
I
local
know.
area where you can find one.
Yeah.
I'm the same way. I had one years ago, and now I think I'm ready to bring it back because I had it and I didn't use it as much, and I was younger, and now I'm in my early 40s, and I think, it really would be nice just to elevate my feet, and that changes. Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe we'll do an experiment and we'll circle back at some point and we can compare some notes.
Sounds great. Yeah.
We gotta know. Inquiring minds want to know, where is the strangest place that Seth Goldberg ever slept?
Yeah, I wish I could say something like, in a mattress gallery in one of our stores, but I haven't done that. I've definitely fallen asleep in a law school class. I went to law school, and that's definitely put me to sleep. I don't know. I don't. Maybe that's the strangest, perhaps. Probably falling asleep on my kids' floors with four kids. I think that's happened before as well. I wish I had a better answer for you, Mark. I don't know that that's that strange in the grand scheme of things. And I was thinking about it. I guess I'm pretty fortunate that I get to sleep in a nice bed and mattress every night. So I feel thankful for that.
Absolutely, because you got to get that 7 to 8 hours.
Right. How about you? Do you? Can I ask a question? Where's the strangest place you've slept?
Oh, wow. I think we're going to have to edit out a time period in life roughly from 18 to 23. If we can go ahead and eliminate that, create a donut hole there. Um, hey, recently, I was on the other side of the world and I got to sleep in India. And then I went from Bangalore, India to Mumbai. And it was strange for me because in all of the hotels, you had to actually go through a security feature. And so they had metal detectors, you had to hand off your bags just to get into the hotels. And
Wow.
so the experience itself was very strange. And then the mattresses in India tend to be very firm. 40% of mattresses produced use coir, which is coconut husk with a latex coating,
Hmm.
as before. And so the mattresses tend to be very firm. So that was kind of a unique, strange experience. This is probably going to continue to come up, Seth, as I have guests on the Sleep Summit show. So I will continue to think of the strange places I've slept, of which there are many.
Cool. Thanks for answering my question.
Yeah, hey, you're turning the microphone around on me. I love it. Okay, so I got two more things. I want to do our Sleep Summit quiz question. So, what is the term for the phenomenon where people tend to feel more alert and awake during the day if they've been exposed to bright light in the morning? Do you know the answer to this?
No, I don't. I guess I probably should if we're in the sleep business, but I'll learn something today. So hopefully you
Well,
can.
that phenomenon, and you'll probably say, of course, where people tend to feel more alert and awake when they've been exposed to bright light in the morning, that's actually circadian rhythm, which is specifically the body's natural response to light and darkness.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
And I've heard a
I
lot of
think
people
it's
say,
really important. I think it's really important, Mark, actually, to wake up to natural light. I think my wife would have our room completely blackout and keep it that way, but I need that natural light coming in the morning. So I can relate to that. I think that's a really important. And here in upstate New York, when it's dark at 5:30 in the morning, still all the way, to the winter, when the winter time keeps it dark, it's a lot harder to wake up.
yeah, it is. I've heard from so many sleep experts that say if you can have your bedroom, located on the east side of your home for that
Mm.
natural light to wake you up. And then many also say go out in the morning and get exposed for about 15 minutes to that natural light because it's going to have such an impact on your circadian rhythm. It's going to set your clock. So always good tips. And then of course have a bedtime. And if you're living like Seth, you're going hard in the paint all day, and by 9:30, no problems falling asleep.
Most nights, yes.
Hey, I gotta ask you, what are you excited about the future for you, for Raymour and Flanigan? When you think about the action, the execution that you're doing right now, and what gets you jazzed about your future path, what do you think about?
Well, I'm really excited about some of the investment we're making in new technology to help our business propel forward. Starting with our associates experience, I think we're on the cusp of making our associates productivity higher, their experience better with some new tools that they're going to be able to use. I also think that we're doing some really great things and have a laundry list of more things that we want to do to create the best omni-channel shopping experience for our customers in the Northeast. And we're so well positioned to be able to do that. And I'm really excited about our leadership team being able to think not only in the blocking and tackling and the running of the business every day today, but also that evolution of our business that we need to do to be successful, hopefully for many years to come. And it obviously involves us, that improvement of our associate experience, improvement of our customer experience. But we're going to roll out some things from an omni-channel standpoint that I think are going to make the shopping experience with us easier, simpler, just better overall for customers. And I think we're really well positioned to be able to do that and be an industry leader in that way.
Hey, did I not ask you something that you'd like to touch on? What did we not get to that's rattling around in the back of your brain or maybe in the hallways of Raymour and Flanigan?
I mean, I don't know the implications of AI. I think this is something I'm trying to read up on, read a couple books, and trying to absorb as much of this as I can. In some ways, it's very exciting what's happening with AI and all the buzz around it and the advancement around it. In some ways, it's concerning to me. I think there's just it's so powerful, and tools that are out there like ChatGPT. I'm kind of in awe about what these tools are going to mean. And now, as a father of four, I'm often thinking about, like, what is this going to mean for the way my kids live and grow up? I think there's so many questions unanswered at this point, but they're incredibly powerful tools out there. And I just see it like in the Microsoft products that I'm using every day. The way that it can draft emails and set appointments for me and reminders. It's very interesting what's going on, I think, in that space.
It absolutely is. Even just Chat GPT alone as a fundamental switch in the way that we navigate the internet. Because I'm rarely going to Google anymore. I'm going to Chat GPT because instead of asking a question and sifting through search results, it's giving me collected information that isn't dictated by the website that I need to then visit. It's
Right.
presenting it all in one stream. Just for fun, ahead of time, I just do this every once in a while. I said 5 best unexpected questions to ask someone that you're interviewing, and it spit out 5. And that's not the way I do interviews. I like to just listen to the person and go to where the interview needs to go. But it gives you the classic: if you could travel to any point in history, where would you go and why? If you could have dinner with a historical figure, some of that stuff. But it shows you its ability to collect and synthesize information into something meaningful for you in that moment. And I've heard from other retailers, for example, I was talking to Dr. V with Miskelly's down in the South, down in Mississippi, and they're using ChatGPT to come up with better customer service responses
Right.
when they're using their chat feature. And he said, it's working great because it gives you that positive tone and vibe without the person having to guess each time. Have you rolled out anything AI related or GPT, or are you messing with that internally?
We're trying in certain areas, marketing being one of them. Definitely our chat experience as well. I think it does kind of force you to reflect on what the experience that you want to provide to your customers is. And so the way that we think about that, there's definitely transactional, there's informational interactions that are had that, customers, hey, I'm looking for when my delivery date, or I want to reschedule my delivery, or what's my previous order history. But there's a bunch of situations where human to human interaction, we pride ourselves on that interaction, and we pride ourselves on our associates having the ability to take the best possible care of the customer in those situations. So it's really a complementary strategy there, right? And I think we don't do everything we can to get a customer not to talk to somebody in our organization. In fact, if somebody wants to talk to someone in our organization, we're always trying to figure out how do we make it easier for that to happen, and how do we make sure that that person is really well equipped to solve that customer's concerns or challenges at that moment in time. So it's got to be, I think, a balanced approach, but we're definitely trying it and trying to learn from it for sure.
It's kind of a small thing, but I think that the advent of ChatGPT and how powerful it can be if someone harnesses it in the right way is making moments like this video more important. Because unless Seth is a really good deep fake at this point, we're having a real human conversation. So you know what's happening, and it's anchored in reality and not by scraping and mixing and DJing together the internet.
Yeah, this is real, and I'm real, and this is real, and I think as humans, we still crave that emotional human interaction. And, I think we're, unfortunately, in some ways, fortunately, I guess in others, now we have these incredibly powerful computers in our pockets that we're all probably a little bit addicted to in a sense. And, I don't think we can lose sight of how valuable and important the human to human interaction like this is.
I couldn't agree more. And this has been a great chance for me to visit with you and get to know more about Raymour and Flanigan. As we sign off for the day, I just want you to pass along my thanks to your 6,000 associates for their passion around this category, because we get to help people live better lives. We get to help people sleep better. We get to change what's happening in sometimes scary transitions. So often people come in to buy furniture and mattresses and something is changing in their life.
Yeah.
And when something's changing, we want an assurance of an outcome. And it sounds like you have an incredible team and an amazing family. And please pass along my thanks to your family as well, because I love seeing that spirit represented in business and that love represented in business.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me, Mark. It was great to connect and appreciate it.